Hi everyone, welcome to Thomas's Half Hour Variety Hour. I'm Thomas. Today we're going to be talking about alien abductions. Now, on my channel, we assume two things right off the bat. Number one, aliens are real. We gotta rip that band-aid right off. And number two, they have been involved in our species since the very conception of our species. 750,000 years ago, or whatever number you want to believe. Or whatever. Fucking point is, they exist, and they have been meddling with our species. That's 2 points of basically every video I assume, believe, no matter what the video is about. Okay, now we got that out of the way. Let's start by talking about this man, Vusumazulu Mutwa. Now, by the way, I practiced saying that name. I know I'm messing it up, and I apologize. I do not mean any disrespect. Now, continuing on. This man did an interview with David Icke. Now, I know what you're thinking. David Icke. Oh, boy. How are you going to take that man seriously? And I kind of have to if you're looking into this stuff. Because in the pile of shit videos, boring, misinformation, or just, all in all, just what are you saying kind of shit. But the point is, there's little nuggets of gold. When you find that nugget, you wash it, you clean it, and then you have something shiny there. Which is just an analogy for research, I guess. But whatever. The point is, he did an interview with this man who is a healer, author, he writes books, and a philosopher. Now, he was discussing in this interview the history of his people. And he's from Zululand in Africa. And his people's history, the story is similar in the Bible and other places too. But I'm not a religious scholar, so I'm not going to dabble in that. But the story in the religious realm is, I think it's the story of Babylon, or the story of Babel, or something like that. A tower that was built to reach God at a time when humanity had one language, and then something happened, etc., whatever, God got mad or something, I don't know, and then we got divided into the languages we have today, and that's why humanity's so split up in different regions, all that. So it kind of follows that story, only it's a little cooler because it involves ESP. Now, Mutwa's belief in their history and in their culture, they believe that humanity had this capability of ESP. And a long time ago, a reptilian race took away that capability. And when that capability was taken away, that's when we divided into all these different languages. Now, Mutwa goes into great detail. It's a 6-hour interview. It was 6 hours of my God, of my life taken away. For honestly, something I could have read in an article. Probably. I was lazy, I guess. No, I wasn't. It takes effort to watch something for 6 hours. I just didn't think of it at the time. It was just a good interview, I guess. Point is, in this story, there's this idea of humanity having, I guess, the first, you could say, kind of mass abduction of our species, kind of overlooking what the Anunnaki did, which was later on with our species. Now, these reptilians, they evolved from our Earth, and from here, and then developed capabilities of interstellar travel, left Earth, and then when we started developing, I guess they selected us out of the whole group of other type of chimpanzees and monkeys that were kind of developing into maybe the tool age or something. And they took away the capability of this ESP and put it in language. Now, there's this article here we have that states 500,000 years ago, we started developing this FOXP2 protein that is similar in other chimpanzees, but is special in us because of some minute scientific detail. This ability of making these complicated sentence structures this weird hiccup. No matter how you painted, the commonality is 500,000 years ago something happened in our genetics uniformly in our species that caused us to evolve this complex language of the sound that we produce in different ways to communicate with each other, sometimes forming even more complexities like with like slang and shit. But the point is that there is this connection, whether it be a god or in this case aliens, and our development. Now, do I believe that? No, not necessarily, because there's also this possibility of us developing this protein from natural ways, like mushrooms is a common theory or belief. So maybe some of us who are better adept in understanding language have this mutation in them from the aliens or something like that. Or maybe this reptilian species didn't necessarily replace it, but they just closed off the part of our brains able to develop this ESP, telekinesis, whatever you want to call it. Now, they all but say in this interview that these reptilians lived with the dinosaurs. I mean, it's a plausible theory or hypothesis of, first of all, dinosaurs went extinct 66 million years ago. The accumulation of their existence, not all at the same time, but what I meant was not that they lived all together at the same time. They lived in different periods, but their accumulated time on this planet is over 1 billion years. That's longer than any human being, any whatever you want to say, whatever, since the meteorite that killed them off 66 or whatever killed them off. No, the meteorite killed them off 66 million years ago. Now, these beings of reptilian origin, I guess, do their ancestors still exist on our planet? Did their ancestors go extinct? Or whatever have you. The point is, that billion-year time frame, something could have evolved to the point of interstellar capabilities and left this planet before the doomsday cataclysm of the meteorite. You know, it is a completely plausible thing, even though it's fucking hilarious to think about dinosaurs and just I don't know, just living with dinosaurs and these reptilian creatures. It's hilarious, honestly. Also, the meteorite kind of destroyed any sign of their civilization, that kind of thinking. Although, so our alien abduction story kind of begins in the ancient times of about 12,000 years ago. I'm not going to go into too much detail. The cliff notes, I guess, are aliens interacting with our species for personal gain of the aliens. Not these peaceful, we come to give you spiritual guidance things like that. Which is a belief held by Dr. Stephen Greer, which I do not oppose the man in any sort of way. I think he has a good relationship with maybe aliens that are more kinder, more giving in sharing intelligence in that way, and developed far beyond the need, maybe, or maybe he isn't speaking with aliens from our universe, but interdimensional beings. That doesn't mean all aliens are interdimensional. That doesn't mean interdimensional beings don't exist. It just means that he has one route of the alien ET, whatever you want to call it, phenomenon mapped out pretty well. He has good evidence, I think, especially with the government's involvement of this, which, again, can't be overlooked, that what he's doing could be a form of counter-espionage. I do not know the man personally. This is from a very far-out perspective. Moving forward from that, the human species have had interactions with alien beings, whether good or bad, since our species' development of community and societies as we know them today, 12,000 years ago. Over 12,222 years ago, I guess, if you want to be kind of specific. So that's a really long time to be involved. And Egypt that whole area, the cradle of civilization, as they call it in the Middle East and Egypt area, is thought to be 5,000 years old. Some of it is like the Sphinx. I believe the Sphinx is older than people believe, and also I believe there's more under the sand of structures like the Sphinx, where over 12,000-year-old civilization architecture. When we think about civilization and what that means, and aliens' influence in that, we can probably just a quick cliff note into the modern era, which is what I really want to talk about. Aliens in Earth in ancient times are the reptilians messing with our ESP capabilities, the Anunnaki using us as a form of slave labor. Really, just those two kind of chaotic forms of alien abductions or involvement in our species. Now, moving forward and more into modern times, why are alien abductions happening? Now, right off the bat, a super advanced species, why would they be doing this? Interdimensional species, even, which we do not assume on this channel. That is still up for debate. I mean, it's easy. I mean, you know what? Might as well. If I believe in aliens, I believe in interdimensional beings, spirituality, and all that. What it is clarified as, the description and the details are yet to be written out, but they just exist. Oh my Jesus Christ. Spirituality, not the paranormal and ghosts and shit like that, but spirituality in the sense of like astronomy and all that is bullshit. We do not believe that in this channel. We believe in the paranormal, as in witchcraft, Satanism, interdimensionalism, and aliens. I guess that's it. And anything else I decide on or not, and change my mind. I'll change my mind whenever. Point is, why are these alien abductions happening? Well, the most scientific, I guess, reason would be for research. I mean, Earth could be this petri dish, or even our whole Milky Way galaxy, because if we look at a map of the Milky Way galaxy, there's not a lot of places around us. These are all stars in our Milky Way. And then I guess you can say, because of the white specks, oh, there's, but not really, because this is like it's not a high def image necessarily. But as you can see, there's one galaxy. All of this is so far from everything else. If you want to look up a map of our, like a map of the cosmos, our place in it, and it has to be like a 3D map. I wasn't gonna spend all day looking for it. I just wanted to just quick like point of view. We're far from a lot of things. So if any alien beings are coming here, they'd have to have like the Ataka. I forgot what they're called, but the alien species with the fastest spaceships. You'd have to have a really fast spaceship, and it have no matter at all, you know, getting to Earth. You know, you could be interdimensional, so it really doesn't have a space involvement, more of or space-time involvement, but like a interdimensional involvement. Or you could be coming here for research purposes, far from everything else. No real harm or whatever, getting caught maybe kind of idea. So in the science, you know, research realm of alien abductions, that is credible and probably is happening. The parasite species of aliens are or more akin to look like praying mantises with their arms bent and long big faces, long big eyes. They are scientifically one of the most advanced in our universe. Descriptions of aliens that we know of that could be true or not true, made up or not made up, whatever, they are generally put on the most intelligent and highest, like top three for sure. And they definitely abduct people for research purposes. They actually are credited with developing biomechanical AI kind of species, similar looking to the Greys, but not the Greys, or the Zeta Reticuli, which are also Greys, but a different species of Greys. The Greys also are aids to other species like the Nordics, tall weight species in general. I'm not going to name them all. There's only a few, I can't remember them. They all involve the Greys in some way, I guess you can say. Not that the Zeta Reticuli, like, they know of each other. Obviously, if you're zipping through space and someone else is like, they recognize each other also because of the Council of Five, which is going to be another video. They all have this understanding, I guess, or agreement. Kind of like how we are as nations with each other. We go to war, they have war, so do the aliens. But there's this like mutual, like, all right, let's talk about certain things because war takes resources and time and people. Alien abductions could be a multitude of things. Scientific experimentations, yes. Creating a hybrid race, that could be a part of it. That could be part of the idea of invasion. So under that idea, it is slowly turning us into them. So when they do show up, there is less kind of opposition to them, almost like an instinctual, like, oh, these are the saviors kind of thing. Again, there's so many species out there, so that could be part true. Like the reptilian species are hypothesized to be doing that with us, and this parasite species have been hypothesized with stealing the last one down there of the four red, our organs for genetics and for technology purposes, for selling, I guess. It gives a real sense of like a Rick and Morty kind of esque universe where there's no really, not necessarily a sense of nihilism, but just like, this is what I believe, I'm gonna act on it, and so be it, because I have the technology to prove it or whatever. Now there are warring races out there, and they have been fended off with the allied alien species with us. Now, these allied species aren't absolved of alien abductions. A well-known case is the Travis Scott case, an accidental alien abductions, where he encounters these tall whites, which are supposedly allied with our species. And we see here other representation of famous cases. For instance, this man right here is a Roswell witness to the crash. Some of the debris landed on his farmyard, and like the well-known case of Betty Barney Hill, they were abducted and experimented on. So these cases aren't rare, but for what purposes is the better question, you know? Cloning wouldn't be out of their capabilities if these species are traversing the universe, you know? They could just take a little genetic sampling from us, clone us, and use that as the source of organ harvesting. Now maybe there's some deterioration to each clone they haven't perfected. Or have you ever played the game Destroy All Humans? I love that game. And the story is this gray species of aliens, which is so funny because they could be based off the Zeta Reticuli, like grays, but their species survives on cloning, so they're just clones of the same like super advanced version of themselves. And this is from a video game, which is interesting in and of itself. That's so creative. But anyway, the point is, these aliens take it upon themselves to find genetic matches to substitute into their cloning to continue on their species. And it is exactly what is said here. That game came out for the PS2 in like 2006 or something, and it's crazy. I was playing it and doing this research, and I was like, holy shit, the connection. But anyway, it is from a video game, so, you know, grain of salt, whatever. Point is, that could be happening, you know, interestingly enough, with real aliens. These different species have different inclinations for abducting us. Again, under the idea of invasion doesn't mean showing up in like a giant spaceship and being like, yeah, this is ours. We come from, you know, it's grandiose, it's Hollywood fed, and it's probably not the smartest move on them either. For all they know, especially with the hypothesis of aliens involving with our nuclear research, shutting down our atomic missiles and things like that being seen around power plants, and even the more recent UFO, alien, whatever you want to call it, and research in South America with the aliens and the volcano. So there's plenty of evidence to show that they have this capability of basically kind of doing whatever they want. So by no means maybe we are a threat, but the nuclear aspect definitely has some kind of worry in them. Our nuclear capability has some sort of maybe threat on them, or maybe it's more of a threat to our planet kind of thing. They don't want, it's like they don't want the guy to jump off the building, but for ulterior motives, because he knows the password to like the bank codes or something. You're like, no, don't kill yourself. And he gets off the ledge. Oh, I really appreciate that. It's like, oh yeah, and then later on you get the codes, and then it's like kind of he's suicidal again, and then he's jumping. And you're like, I got the code. I don't know, fucking someone else could do this or whatever. It's a dark analogy, but the point is, they can do whatever the fuck they want with us, and because of that, they don't see us as a threat, but it's on a tightrope with them in their eyes. Now, other civilizations might don't care and want to just take us over and stop us, but this alien alliance we have prohibits any like big disclosure of these beings. Alien abductions, in the middle over there, the 2 points are kind of alike, which was what I'm getting at. Like, their invasion methodology might not be the conventional way, and also might not be happening because of this alien alliance, but does not prevent alien abductions. And some aliens don't care, and etc., for whatever plethora of reasons they might have for not just completely like stomping the boot on us. Point is, the abduction reasons, they fall under those points. It is hard because no alien will take an interview, and the ones that are communicating with us are usually with the government, because why would they involve themselves with the sheep? The government, whether or not they deserve it, are in positions of authority and have the most influence. So if you did want to do some kind of manipulation or whatever, you would do it through them. Now, are they expelling some sort of beliefs onto us? Are they 4D chessing this with our government and the world's government? Really, what really is going on is hard to say. Least of all, it is worrisome to think that just alone we barely get along with each other, right? So to think another species might care about us isn't out of the realm of possibility. It's better for us if we learn to get to that point on our own and with each other, just completely knowing how to communicate with each other. Not saying we all have to be friends, there's some fun in like debate and arguing and being like competitive. That is part of humanity's existence, I guess, in a sense, to get kind of sappy and weird about it. Anyway, I can't help but think abductions are not a good thing. Some people do have good experiences, and looking at the research of John E. Mack, a psychologist and a renowned UFO researcher, he did a good auditorium speech with this other alien abduction researcher called Buck something. I forgot his name. Point is, he did this interview, and there were opposing views. Dr. John believed that alien abductions are of a positive light in nature because of the euphoric feeling people get from it. On the other end, Buck believes that this is just some psychological, chemical, whatever you say, manipulation on the aliens' part to make us less frantic. It's like the equivalent of giving a monkey or an animal a tranquilizer when they're in the cage, just to calm them down until you release them back into the wild, which kind of makes not necessarily evil or wrongdoing or bad, but the aliens are somewhere between neutral, negative, and kind of good. They fall under the same spectrum, interestingly, as humans do in terms of emotions. There's the nihilistic, non-caring, this doesn't matter, who cares, we're gonna do whatever we want in pursuit of science, I guess. But you can also have that in the other end of this form of unity and peace and oneness, maybe, who knows, the universe is a vast place. Maybe the point that they got to when we get to, we'll be doing the same things. We'll be visiting other planets, kind of influencing them in our own ways, and so will other developed species, and so on and so forth. It's just how the universe functions. It's one of these patterns. It's a chaotic pattern because there's no certainty of how everything's going to turn out, but it's a pattern nonetheless. So these alien abductions could be just a pattern of disclosure, how they get integrated into our society. They start with abductions, then the government starts releasing more information, then there's more videos, then there's more interviews with abductees, and it starts forming the snowball effect until it just collides down the mountain into this like just snow pile of aliens are real, we are integrated with the alien society, and then who knows what happens after that. Maybe a generation away, maybe this generation, maybe 2 generations away, who knows. It's all ramping up seemingly into something that coincides with like historical events, like biblical kind of events. It's interesting to say the least. But what would be the point of just talking about stories and hearsay and whatever and all of that if we don't look into... Whoops. These are just a list, just real quick. This is a list of alien abductions from 1896. These are stories, obviously. Little video evidence from 1896 going forward to 1930s, all the way through 1968 to 2017 today. That is a very long time, and I have been going through some of these. It is interesting, and to be honest, they deserve a video on their own. Yeah. Now, this man right here, Roger K. Lear. He is a doctor, he's a surgeon, and he is an avid ufologist and researcher, and he actually has taken out alien probes, insertions into the skin. There's a good documentary about one of these surgeries called Patient 17. It's very interesting. But a lot of these victims of alien abductions find under their skin these little probes, like chip-like things that aliens might have put in them. Now, there is this belief, and Dr. Stephen Greer has ample amount of evidence to show this, that the U.S. government has the capability and technology of UFOs. Now, not in the sense that they can have manned aircraft, interstellar travel, all that. They can do it with a drone, UFO, and they can mimic the abilities of a UFO enough to scare people in real life with the government type UFOs. Now, what is pressing to say is a lot of these probes have very strange, weird elements to them, and sometimes even unknown forms of metal. It's hard to kind of discredit that when it could be a meteorite, possible, right? Like an asteroid breaks up in the atmosphere and little shards, and someone's walking and they don't even notice it, but it lodges into their skin, and over time it heals up, closes, you don't even see the insertion or whatever, and you have a meteorite in you with weird metal and elements in it, and you think it's an alien probe. But that probe with the evidence of alien abduction memories under hypnosis or calm states of talking to, where the client can remember better, it starts to add up, and then you have multiple cases of this same occurrence of remembering alien abduction, finding this probe, and being of unknown metal, and it starts to be less of a random strange occurrence, but some form of evidence of this weird happenings of alien abductions. Unfortunately, Roger K. Lear died in March 2020, so he was unable to continue his work. But there's plenty of good documentaries and articles he's done where he shows with great detail and volition to prove his point that he is a scientist. He is trying to be fair and meticulous about this as much as he can. Now, I guess the conclusion I'm getting at about these alien abductions, they're of a negative source. Less supported by evidence is the case of Billy Meyer. If you look up Billy Meyer, he has this history of the Nordic tall white being of UFOs and talking and communicating with them with their and them showing their great capabilities. Now, I'm under the impression that's how aliens are kind of supposed. That's He did get abducted first, though. That's what I'm saying. He got abducted. A period of time passed, and then he started having these like encounters with these aliens. Now, his life was basically can be summed up as hell. He lost his arm and all that up until the whole alien abduction era of his life. Like, it was bad. But then afterwards, he started meeting with these Nordic type being of tall white aliens, and they've been communicating him and telling him like secrets, making him feel special. I guess for what? Now, to clarify real quick, they did not take his arm. No, I should have said that in the beginning. For some reason, there's this sense of like they kind of messed up with him or manipulated him in some way, and now they're feeling sorry, so they're trying to make him feel special. Watching interviews and reading about Billy Meyer. But that's my point. Like, if they wanted to, they could totally be like, hey, hi, how you doing? We're aliens. Quick question. You want to go on this spaceship? And 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, I'd say, be like, are you gonna probe me? And then be like, yeah, I'll go on it. Or like, just be like, nah, man, I've seen what you did in movies. And then they would be like, no, come on. Just be a lot more reasonable about it. Like, there's some logic to this, you know what I mean? Like, when you presume the species to be less developed, and then you have the higher capabilities, and then you also could, if you wanted to, develop this environment where like it could be secluded and secret and no one will find out, and you could just have a conversation with one of us human beings in a species. But they choose to abduct us. Essentially, that's what the word means, to be taken out of wherever you are, out of nowhere, whatever. That's not the specific definition, but still, they have this capability of doing whatever they kind of want, in a sense. They're not immortal or infallible to like discern, like they can burn, probably they still feel like pain. Maybe not the interdimensional beings, and maybe, who knows, the reptilians. There's still subspecies of those that can actually fly, really. So who knows, maybe they like do have some like weaknesses or so. Everyone has a weakness. Everyone has their great. Point is, they're not like gods. They are like gods, but they are not gods. So they have the wherewithal to be more reasonable in their approach with us as human beings, but they choose to undergo this honestly stressful and kind of annoying process of just taking you out of your bed in this nightmarish kind of reality of almost dream to reality kind of escape of being taken aboard a spaceship and experimented on, and then some get shown crazy and good things. I do have some sort of bias against this, I guess. But the point is, I'm not saying all alien abductions are bad, but I'm not saying they don't do it for a reason. Even though it ends up good, there could be this underlying idea of like instilling some sort of like, we can just do this whenever we want, but we choose not to, into people with these abduction stories and being abducted themselves. That could be possible. So again, I am under the impression alien abductions not necessarily the best thing. I think it'd be better for us as a species to kind of work together, not in a hostile way, but kind of in a more unified front, confident, we're fair, but we're not, pushovers kind of attitude. I mean, I'm not the best representation of that, but we as a species are just all together at once. Even though some of us are going through some crazy shit right now, it is in our responsibility. Why are we here? You put whatever reason you want in front of that. One of the reasons I like is to help each other out, not because you have to. And helping each other out could be just you being a better person to yourself, and developing a good structure of whatever your family might be, or whatever kind of life you want to live. You do it admirably, you do it nobly, you do it confidently enough where you don't turn into a lunatic when you get criticized, but you also don't let people walk all over you. And that's a hard place to be in. It is a balancing act. It's hard. What was my point? Oh yeah, the thing is, alien abductions could be one of those situations where they're so advanced, they kind of don't look at it from our perspective, really, like, or like how scientists do in the jungle or whatever with animals. They could be, some of them act more kind, some of them just trank them and bring them in, do their thing, and throw them back, you know? That analogy of how scientists treat animals in the animal kingdom for research and stuff like that is a good analogy for how aliens could act, yes. And also, it puts into the perspective, puts into the line of sight that their mentality may be far advanced, but the emotional spectrum seems to be a very common, and in the spiritual aspect of it, moral maybe, could be a commonplace throughout the universe and cosmos. You know, there's certain agreement on things like, I like this. I mean, thinking about what happens when this ends is terrifying and is not a fun thing to do. And I don't want it to be forced upon my mind sooner than it has to. So anything that instigates that is bad, and anything that helped me forget about that and put that further in the back of my mind is good. So that's, I guess, a simple way of looking at it. It's not necessarily the best way of looking at it, but it's simplistic, yes. It's a good way of understanding maybe their point of view. Or maybe they have some sort of different foundation on that. Maybe it's like more species understand the greater meaning of the universe, but in a natural way that's good, and then the opposite is bad, or whatever their foundational like ideology is. Because it could be different throughout all species and races of aliens out there. You know, like the reptilians might have a sense of like real like masculine, patriarchal, like just honestly kind of biased or exo racist to be like the reptilians are the bad guys, but that's based on Mutwa's cultural history of the reptilians once being a species that evolved on this earth, leaving, then coming back to mess with our species as a sort of their view that they're better than us, so they can do whatever they want with us. So that may be our species basis why we don't like reptiles so much. Maybe that's why we have this instilled fear of just like, god damn those reptiles, you know? Could be exo-racist, we could be better than that. And here's the thing, real power is the ability to hold it back when you don't really need to show it off. So like, if an advanced species came to our planet and they could do whatever they want to us, we shot off some nukes at them, and they were these peaceful like soldiers of peace or whatever, not really soldiers, but just people that really wanted to push the idea of peace, and kind of like will take a couple punches while being like, hey, hey, and then kind of like punching us in the kidney and being like, ah, and they're like, see what we can do? You're gonna listen to us for a second? Now here's how we see we should do things. Okay, you take that or leave it. We're gonna go after this. Do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. That's how we do things. And then some of us will be like, oh, that makes sense. That's what power is. Having the capability of putting it out in the right amounts. Now, overdoing it or underdoing it to the point where it just becomes your downfall, but just putting it out in right amounts. And that could be another alien abduction. Could be these things where like kind of putting us out there and being like, deal with it, bitch. And then us being like, oh, it's scary. And then trying to get us not to have this adverse reaction of hostility and anger and whatever at them. It's not right. You're you know, who knows? It is a very complicated subject, but I still stand on the basis, if they do need to do it by abducting people, I say more abductions that are in a positive light, so it can support the basis that these creatures care about us in some sense or some way, maybe in a diplomatic way. So they need to step it up, abduct me maybe, so I can get a better sense of this. But all in all, research, documentaries, articles tend to point 70, 75, 78% of alien abductions are in a negative kind of light. That is made up numbers. I'm making up numbers. The point is, a good portion of them are negative, and that's not from the abductees' personal experience. Some of those, okay, you know what? I'm going to use numbers. 75 to 78% of those experiences are negative, even though the abductee might not agree so. And then 30% of those are like genuinely they feel like they're enlightened and the whole thing was good from beginning to end. So just off that, I really need to put that. I will figure out how to put that into numbers someday, soon, maybe. I don't know. I just recently got more free time to start doing videos, so this is just a reintroduction to the video making world out there. And maybe this wasn't as funny. Anyway, I'm losing my train of thought. But no, I wasn't. I was concluding. So yeah, alien abductions, maybe not the best thing and not necessarily the most trustworthy thing an alien can do. Not necessarily one of the greatest things an alien can do. If they want to develop a better relationship with our species, it is a good thing if you want to invade our species, just not probably not the best way to progress forward in disclosure. Or abduct more people and just be like, alright, hold on. I know this is bad, but this is how we have to do it. It's just so blah 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 blah. You know, explain. We're reasonable. Some of us are reasonable people. You know, we're not all fucking dumb. I'm kind of dumb. Not most of us, you know. And if you do have an abduction story, I would love just any kind of response to this about it. You know, I'll probably put my email or something, or just write to the channel. I guess you can do that. I'm not tech savvy. All right. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope to do more videos in the future. This has been kind of fun. My throat hurts. I've been doing this all day. It sucks. I'm gonna cut that out probably. Thank you for watching. Yeah, hope you learned something. And feel free to research, fact check me. I'm not opposed to like criticism. I mean, I have feelings, of course, but not opposed to criticism. To do better somehow. Maybe not everyone's a genius, but anyway, I'm losing again. Point is, see you next time, next video, whenever that may be. About whatever. Awesome.